So this is a quick follow-up to my earlier posted video statement about how I should really be in hospice care. That's not to say that I trust the local hospice people, because what the medical students are ultimately proving is that most of the people who are in hospice is really completely unnecessary. Younger people anyway. There may be much older people, really, really older people, I would say 80s, 90s, uh, that's probably the only people who should be in hospice care. I have no doubt, I've talked to other people on the street who have cancer, who aren't getting proper care. They're not super young, but they're not super old either. But one of the reasons why nobody wants me in hospice is because once you are a part of a support network of other hospice patients or other people battling cancer, whether it's uterine cancer, and I think most cancer patients don't give a damn whether it's uterine, prostate, whatever. They're not going to care. It's supposed to be in support groups. And they hear that I've been terminal for, since before I went to prison. They had to repeatedly treat me for infections in prison. So when you're already going septic, you're already terminal. It's already killing you. But then you add on, that was 2009, 2010. I was already having to constantly need antibiotics for pelvic infections, they called it. They unbundled it and called it something completely different, but that was probably 2008, 2009. And of course I did 18 months in prison, or 14 and a half with good time. And I believe they knew before they sent me to prison, because I had the medical director at the Bay County Jail sent me for an MRI because I kept falling. I kept losing my feeling in my legs, and I would end up so crippled from pain that the very mean nurse would even bring my pain meds, which was, Tylenol or ibuprofen, to my cot. I didn't have to get up and stand in line. They could see I couldn't. I was a very huge liability. But that jail was constantly being blasted by the local news for killing shit. They weren't fixing a door. There was one of the electronic doors. All of the corrections officers kept complaining that Corrections Corporation of America, the private prison company, wasn't fixing that door. And they're like, this is a fucking security risk. Sure enough, I don't remember all the details, but a nurse and either one or two other corrections officers were taken hostage in the downtown jail, the one that's like several stories high, that was made famous in the movie Gideon's Trumpet with Henry Fonda. And they called in their own CERT team, or certified or crisis response team, whatever, it's an acronym for something. So I guess one of the inmates had the nurse was holding her like around her neck, shielding himself with her. The fucking CERT team shot her in the fucking knee and the hip so she would fall, so then they could then shoot the inmate. That nurse was apparently smacked her husband, who was in the hospital. She's still crippled, still hasn't been compensated. She was in the same damn dorm with me, jailed herself, regaling us with the story. Because she told the COs, I was in a small medical dorm. And well, we weren't getting our medical care, but is for people with special medical needs. And the officers, so we were sitting there bullshitting with the officers all the time. They were flirting with the damn inmates. It was really a pretty disgusting situation. But she was like, yeah, I'm the nurse that got shot during that whole thing. And the corrections officers were basically saying nothing's changed. Because, see, what happened is that Bay County ended up taking it over. They ended their contract with CCA, Corrections Corporation of America, because of all the bad publicity. Well, they weren't doing any better. I mean, the staffing didn't change. The sheriff still ran that, and his own kid was a meth head, was a dealer. So, I mean, but anyway, they don't want me in hospice. Point is, I've been battling this cancer. And the real red flag, what's really going to get people's attention is that it was deliberately accelerated. And then I rapidly hit stage 4 months later. The evidence of the accelerated cancer is so visibly, I mean, to the visible naked eye, it's so obvious. You know, when you have somebody come into the ER, a child or an adult who's been beaten, you take pictures because it's evidence of the harm done. Nobody's taking pictures but me, and I'm not taking pictures of my crotch. Not gonna. I mean, I did do it in the past, but I'm not going to post those. And I'm sure it's probably worse now. They don't want me teaching those other hospice patients what the medical students and the other retired physicians are teaching me. Now, apparently, I was telling my cousin Meredith that dewormer is apparently being used by some people to treat cancer. That might help somebody at stage 1, but that's not going to treat the sepsis. And it goes by weight, and because they've doubled the price because so many people are taking that now, with my weight being at 250, Jesus Christ, I'd have to take, I don't remember what all, I only remember the measurements for like the raccoons and dogs, but for me, I'd have to take enough for like a fucking small cow. It would cost me several $100s a month. I ain't got that kind of money. And I guess all the dewormer does is deprive the cancer of some enzyme. The same thing, same way it kills the parasite. The parasite needs a certain enzyme to survive, which we have to wonder what cancer really is. What aren't they telling us about cancer? Why does the same thing that kills a parasite kill cancer and viruses? So I'm sticking with what works and what's least expensive. If I could have my vegan diet, if I had a refrigerator where I could store my spring mix salad, baby kale, spinach, alfalfa sprouts, fava beans, or garbanzo beans, whatever you want to call it, chickpeas, not fava peas, not fava beans. I'm thinking of Hannibal Lecter for some reason. Couldn't imagine why I have a sociopath on the brain. What else? I like mushrooms. I would put vegan shredded cheese and vegan Parmesan cheese, vegan bacon bits, and croutons. And then my salad dressing, no high fructose corn syrup. I fell in love with just garlic and onion infused olive oil with a little bit of red wine vinegar. That's it. I would literally eat that, or like you grill tofu like it's grilled chicken. I would probably put some grilled tofu on there. But if I could do that diet, like, see, when I was at my apartment, I didn't quite go that far, but That's how you starve it, because it doesn't just need that enzyme that the dewormer kills. Cancer needs acid. It needs mitochondrial, which the antibiotics that the doctor, they drop me off, whatever, because each infection is different. If it's a lung infection, you need one type of antibiotic. If it's a UTI infection, like what sent me to the emergency room in Christmas of 2019, that's a whole different type of antibiotic. If it's a big abscess in my face or my throat or pain in my ear, that's a whole nother antibiotic. If it's what else have I had? A dental abscess, that's that's penicillin. So each, you have MRSA, some that's MRSA based and some that's strep based, is what I believe they told me in the last, well, it was a couple years ago. They gave me information and they said, one, because I said, well, this antibiotic worked very well. And they said, well, but that was a different infection in a different place and it had a whole different base. It was based on something different. You've got to treat, and plus with me being a MRSA carrier. So when I'm having issues, I signal to them in code, and when I pick up my whatever it is I need from them, whatever information, because we're trying to have each other's backs, and they're letting me know what's going on, where they're at in the various states that they're at, and they leave me packets of whatever antibiotic I need, and we never know where it's going to pop up, and it's pretty much different every time, and it usually, because I'm ADHD and so busy and so focused and distracted, that's why I ended up with a double pneumonia and a collapsed lung last winter, ended up in the ER because I wasn't feeling the symptoms. I was too overwhelmed by everything else. We mask. That's why I keep telling you, don't go by what you see. Don't go by my affect, because I mimic normal behavior because I don't know what am I going to do? Lay on the ground and stomp and cry and throw a fit because I'm in pain? What the fuck's that going to do? Plus, I read an article that most people with chronic pain that are really in excruciating pain, what are we going to do? Yell and scream and throw a fit all day, every day? Where's that going to get us? We just shut our mouth and charge forward. We're very good at masking how bad things are. I have to mask how bad things are. I don't want them knowing when I'm vulnerable. Because if they know I'm about to go into septic shock and I'm showing symptoms, they're going to lock me up in a jail or battle burrow so they can finish me off pretty quick. So I order antibiotics for the raccoons. But they don't take that much. I mean, I'm not going to need to order any more of that for a while. But so I don't do the dewormer. I just prefer to do a vegan diet as much as possible. But they don't want, the point is, the doctors don't want, you would think. Now here's another very glaringly obvious confession by all these motherfuckers. You've already heard the phone call where Annalisa Lore is acknowledging I have cancer, and she's saying, I know how the fraud scams work. Okay, that's a confession. And then you have the physician's assistant saying, well, who's treating your cancer? So they've acknowledged that I've got cancer and that I'm terminally ill. And they know exactly how bad it is, and they know that I'm surviving in spite of how bad it really is. You would think if they cared about their patients, they would want me teaching other cancer patients and other sepsis patients exactly how to not end up in the ICU and live a relatively normal life. It ain't pain-free, but you're alive. Any day above ground is better than nothing. So why don't they want me teaching? So that's the next So that would be what most help. So it isn't just what they're saying and not doing it. What they're not doing is very telling. The fact that they're not referring me to hospice so I can teach the other patients means they don't give a fuck about those patients either. So they tell is self-snitching, like that lawyer that's got the channel says. That's why I'm saying, if I can, as long as I can look at the dynamics and I have time to look at everything and my brain can calculate, they've already confessed 1,000 fucking times in all of their records, in their police reports, on all those calls to the police are recorded on their webcams, on the video at the hospitals, at the clinics. You can audit all of that video and see that they're not spending the requisite amount of time with those patients. Oh, this patient's a schizophrenic and combative. You can watch the video and see the patient isn't that at all. You'll look and see that it's a very, how do I want to put it? You'll see that the interaction between the doctors, nurses, and the patient looks very friendly. But then you'll read their notes and it looks like they put in we had to call security, we had to do this, we had to do that. But the security video ain't going to reflect no such thing. I recorded the doctors at Mizzou coming in and apologizing for what they did. We handled that all wrong. Really? But then when you read her notes, she had to call security and all this, and none of that happened. And several of them did that. So if I say you do a proper internal audit where you look at their records and then look at all of the security video, look at the body cam, listen, they've already told you who they are, who's corrupt and who isn't. So leaving me out here at this point isn't helping you find out who's corrupt and who isn't. The only thing, you can do that without me being out here. So if you're leaving me out here and not getting me formally sequestered, it means you're setting these motherfuckers up so that they can be, once they're arrested, they can be remanded and no bail. And if that's what it takes to make that happen, so they're not out here killing anybody else and see, putting me in a hotel puts everybody in that hotel at risk. When they had me at Travelodge, all the people up on the same floor as me that I was friendly with, they lost their rooms too. They got attacked. One guy was refused his blood pressure medicine. Clonidine. Jim Dorsey. So it isn't safe to have me placed in let's say I call 211 and they go, we're going to get you at a hotel. We're not even going to fuck with referring you to for whatever reason, they put me in it puts everybody in that hotel at risk. They're going to put a bunch of moles in there to screw with me, and they're going to screw with anybody who witnesses that I'm not schizophrenic. Anybody who could be subpoenaed and questioned about whether or not I exhibit schizophrenic behavior is at risk. Never, because they're not thinking about the fact that all of these places have security video that Kuzi and the sheriff and the special prosecutors could look at. So they don't really need to subpoena anybody. So, Mr. Mayor, I know you're watching this, and asshole Cuomo and Trump, you're watching this. You're killing all these people for nothing because everything's caught on video anyway. So why are you going after everybody? I mean, there's video security cams all over the fucking park. So when you're walking, so when I leave the park, and my friend's still sitting there, and your guy comes up and threatens them, or your police officers come up and all that's captured on all that security video. If you've got new trolls moving into the park to fuck with me, they're already under investigation. Kuzi has me